Kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1876. Follow the clues. So today has been a really exciting day for me personally. I got to have a meeting with my business coach today, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And I've been on a high all day. And then after I finished my work day, I got to play in my family's genealogy again. And I have to tell you, this was so much fun. So one of the things, and I thought, well, I've got to talk about this one because it's such a really cool tool. And if you follow we're talking about breadcrumbs yesterday, just picking up these little bits here and here and just following those little trails. These were major breadcrumbs I found today. So what happened so I'm looking for a connection. I'm still working on my DNA match that I've been working on for the last few days that we've been talking about. And so I was looking for a particular person. So now that I have gone, so let's see. So first of all, I verified the main trunk line. So from this person I'm supposed to have a DNA match for, I've verified through her parents, her grandparents, her great-grandparents, and I'm working on the second and third great-grandparents in most of the cases. So you're talking about a lot of people here, because if you remember, there's 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 second great-grandparents, and 32 hang on, where am I up to? Hang on. Parents, grandparents, 4, 8 great-grandparents, 16 second great-grandparents, and 32 second great-grandparents. Hang on. I am confusing myself. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, second and third. Yeah, third great-grandparents. So we've got 2, 4, 2. Oh, jeepers. I got to write this down. Hang on. 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 second and 32 third great-grandparents. That's what I was trying to get to. So there's a lot of names that start coming in. And what is interesting is that I'm not sure who is the wrong person in the tree as far as the parents go. No, the grandparents go. So on the paternal side, there's these 2 people she has listed as her grandparents. But all the records I can find, there's no way these 2 were married. And here's what I found. She has the grandfather and the grandmother. The last names are correct. She has the nickname listed for the grandfather and the nickname listed for the grandmother. When looking at the research, I discovered that there was a brother who had that nickname who got married to a girl with the same last name as the grandmother. So you've got A and B. A got married to somebody with the same last name as B, but these 2 never got married together. The grandmother has a sister who married a brother of the grandfather. So you got 2 brothers and 2 sisters who got married. On this family tree that I'm looking at, it shows that this grandfather married this sister when actually it was this grandfather married the other sister. And so, but for our purposes, for what we're doing, it doesn't really matter which one it is, because the 2 brothers and the 2 sisters have the same parents. So we'll figure out who got married to who later on, because what happened was that I found the gravestone, a picture of the gravestone of the one of the person that she mentioned was the grandfather. Now, on this tombstone, it has his name with the nickname he was known as. And it said also his beloved wife. And that was not who the family tree shows he was married to. So when I looked at the records, I found the tombstone of the wife with her nickname and her beloved husband. And it turned out that these 2 brothers had married sisters. So for all intents and purposes, it doesn't really matter which one married which at that point, or which one is supposed to be in the tree. Although I did find out which one was because I found the birth records. of the son, which was awesome. But when I first looked at it before I found the birth records of the son, I thought, it doesn't really matter because these are brothers, these are sisters. The brothers have the same parents. The sister has the same parents. Now, if it was two separate, different women, then we would have to dig a lot deeper. But anyway, so we're going up this trunk line and finding the people who fit in and who got married to who and all of that. But I need to find, where is my connection to this tree over here, this little micro tree that I'm growing over here? Where is this connection? So now we're having to go sideways. We're having to look at the siblings of the different grandparents. So you've got, what did I say, 16 second great grandparents and 32 third great grandparents. And now we're going to look at their siblings to find out where my tree ties in. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much fun. But anyway, thankfully, we have census records that can help establish families, give us an idea of who the family is. And then we can do some deeper digging. Jeepers, I tell you, my brain's all over the place. It was so much fun and so exciting. So now we can dig deeper onto the sibling sides of the family. So we know who the main people are in the tree. Now we're looking at their siblings. And as we go up the tree, so we're now looking at aunts and uncles and cousins and all of this sort of stuff. And then I came across one name, and it took me to the 1939 England and Wales register. Now you're going to go, well, what is a register? This register is basically a handwritten list of people in the houses that, by households. And it's kind of like a census report, because in England, they do their census on the years that end with 1. So you've got the 1841, 1851, 1861, 1871, 81, blah, 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 blah. This was 1939, the 1941 census has not been released. Neither has the 1931 census. And so this is kind of an in-between thing. I think the last census I saw for England was 1921. I believe I saw somebody on that one. It's either 1911, definitely got that one out there, but I think I've also seen 1921. There's been a lot of digging, a lot of census reports. So on the census reports, so this register is something that's in between the census reports. The census reports here is the street, here are the house numbers, here are the people that are living in these houses, whether they're married, divorced, widowed, or single, what their ages are, what their occupations are, where they were born, what other information can you find on a census report? All sorts of really cool stuff. And depending on the year, it may even turn around and ask the woman, how many children did you give birth to, and how many by the census is still alive. So I found one where it said that she gave birth to 8 children, but only 6 are still alive. So that means there's actually 8 children from that marriage. Or is there? Because I found that she actually had children out of wedlock before she married her husband. Is the husband the father of these children? I don't know. But also on the census report, it can show on some of them how the people in the household are related. So one person is the head, they'll have the wife, then they'll have children listed, and it will tell you how they are related to the head of the house, which is very important, because just because there's a husband and wife listed does not mean that all the children listed, if the husband is the head of the house and he's got 6 children listed there and it says son, daughter, all the way down the list, those are sons and daughters of the head of the house. It does not mean that his wife is the mother of those children. It can be implied, but it is not for certain unless you've got birth records, like baptismal records or birth records, to back it up. So that's a census report. The register. So the 1939 England and Wales register is very different in the fact that it's got the address listed there. It's got the what was that number? The schedule. Now the schedule is the order in which they visited the houses. So it's got, is this the first house, second house, third house that they did. Then it has a sub-schedule number, which is the number of people in the house, and each person has a number. They usually typically start with the oldest one, so I have noticed. Then you have the last name and first name, followed by the first name of the people. Then there is a column which I have not seen used in the whole thing. I don't even know what the column stands for. The pages I have been looking at don't have anything in this column. Then it has whether they are male or female. Then it has birth at the top, and then it has two columns. It has day and year. But under the day, it actually has day and month. So you've got their birth dates listed. Are these birth dates correct? They could be, because it depends on who's giving the information. It doesn't tell you who the informant is. And then you have their marital status. Are they married, single, widowed, or divorced? Then it has their occupation. It's 10 columns on a single page. Now, when you're going through these records, some of them have black lines through them that say this record is officially closed. And what that means is that person, so the person who is underneath that black line, they will eventually be revealed. But currently they're under the black line because those people are less than 100 years old and may still be living. Because this was 85 years ago that this was done, 1939, so 85 years ago. So these people that are under these black lines could very much still be alive. And because they are less than 100 years old and they don't know whether or not they are still alive, they've got this black line across there. They're protecting the living people, which I think is awesome. Because as you're going down the numbers and in the middle you get like this black line across, then the numbers continue, you know that there is somebody else in that household, possibly a child, that may still be alive. And I don't know how often they go through and update the register to show, all these people have since died, so we can now take them out. But I do know that there was like somebody listed on there from 1933, and I could definitely see all their information. So obviously that person has since died. But if they are still alive and they're under 100, if their birth date is under 100 years and they are still alive, they've got a black line through their thing. So they're protecting the living, which is kind of cool. So anyway, what happened is that one of the brothers in one of the lines I was looking at, in one of the side pieces I was looking at, came up as being on the 1939 England Wales Register. So I went in and had a look there. And there was him listed as a widow, and 3 of his children were listed. 3 of his sons, 2 boys and a girl were listed. And then there was a couple of black lines. And I'm like looking at this going, he's a widow. When did his wife die? Who is his wife? Because she's not listed on there. So then it was sort of like going back and having a look. What's the next census before? What's the census before this that I can see, where I can see his household on there? And because they have the address listed, you can match it up. Because in this area of Cornwall, and I'm still working in Cornwall, in this particular area of Cornwall, these families did not move houses a lot. So you could go back 20 years to the 1911 census. So that's 28 years to the 1911 census. And there is quite a strong possibility, but based on the ages of these kids, of the children listed, that they will appear on the 1911 census as children, and you can match them up that way, and you can see who's missing, who was on the list then that is now not on this list. Have they died? Are they married? And I got to find out the wife's name. Was this the wife? Well, we then had to go searching for marriage records and everything else. So it was giving me lots and lots of clues. Now, as I'm always telling people, when you are searching on a record, you've always got to look what's above and what's below that record. If you're doing census, who else is on that street? So what did I do? He happened to be at the top. This guy happened to be at the top with this thing. I'm going down this page and I'm like, that's a name that I'm researching. And I've got certain last names that I am researching in this particular tree. And I'm going down and going, that's in this tree, that's in this tree. And I'm going down and I'm finding all of these people. Now I had to go back and count up. There are 44 lines of information on each page. Now, if you take the 44 lines and the 5 pages, I found 5 pages because I went to the page before, the page after, went to the page before, this page before. So I went 2 pages before this way, 2 pages before that way. The page that I was looking at, which was page number 7, in a 13-page, register. Page number 7 was the one where I found the first person I was looking for. Pages 6 and 5 also had those names on, had these names on that I'm looking for. And in fact, one of them had like one name there, and I'm like, that name is in my tree, but that's her married name. And I looked in and calculating the dates, that would have been the mother. And yes, she definitely was a widow at that time because I knew when her husband had passed away. And so I went into my records to verify that, yep, same birth date and everything else that we've got in there. Oh my gosh, that's the same person. We can attach this image to her thing as well. And then I went from page 7, 8, and 9 and found more of these people. So in these 5 pages with 44 lines per page, you've got 220. I've got 220 names. Now there are blackouts on these pages, and some might have, and some of them have got like 3 or 4 blackouts. Some of them have got 9, 10, 11 blackouts on them. So yes, so the maximum number of names that I have to go through is 220, minus the blackouts. And I'm not going through and counting all the blackouts. And they're listing them in groups. And like one of them had 1, 2, 3, blackout, 6, 7, 8. And I was like, I know who those 2 missing people are because they're on the 1911 census. So you find out all this information. Well, no, they weren't on the 1911 census. They were on, I found them out another way. How did I find them? I have to go back through my notes. And so now I have these 5 pages of information looking at the 2 main names that I am searching for on this particular side of the tree. And you've got all these other little names coming in. And then when I find obituaries, so this one guy who I found in the register, in the 1939 England Wales Register, I also found his obituary. And I was going through his obituary, and it was talking about Mr. O, Mr. R.A., and it would have their last names listed. And in this case, it's Jane. The last name is Jane. So it had Mr. O and Mr. R.A. Jane were the surviving sons of the father. And then it would have Mrs. R. Stevens, R.A. Stevens. And I thought that's the daughter that got married into, because the Jane and the Stevens family are very much involved in this area. And so within this small area of Cornwall, in the lower southeast quadrant in the lower southeast corner of Cornwall, there's this little place, and all of these people live around this area, and they are all listed in these 5, and most of them are listed in these 5 pages of the register. Now that's in this particular little town, which is close to where they were all born, so that some of them are living in houses that have been, and when you go back through the census reports, they're living in houses that they were born in. Because you've got the census reports, and these people are not moving out of these houses. You've got farmers who are taking over where the kids are growing up, they're taking over the farm. You've then got a whole bunch of fishermen in the line. There's a whole bunch of fishermen that are in there. What other trades have we got? The fishermen and farmers are the 2 that were found, the 2 main trades of these families. And so it's just interesting that within this small community, within this small area in Cornwall, there's 5 pages of them listed in the register of these families. And so it's just like mind-blowing. So now I've got a whole bunch of information. Now I have to figure out how it fits into the tree, and figure out the connections between them, because on the 1939 register, they're listing siblings and their families. Like there was one where I had found the family in the 1901 census, and now we're 1939. So we're now 30 years later, 38 years later. And here are these children who are now adults with their families listed in the register. So now I have the wives' names, I have their children's names, and I'm building out these side branches of the tree to try and find the ones that I'm connected to. It is super, super exciting. I have to tell you, I was like chills today, and I'm like, and then I suddenly realized the time, I thought, I got to get online. I got to come talk to you guys. So it was a very informative 2 hours that I've had since I finished work today. A very informative 2 hours, but a lot of fun. And I'm just like mind blown right now, because it is going to take me ages to sort my way through these 5 pages, these 220 plus names minus the blackouts. It's going to take me a while to get through this, prove who they are. But again, these ones aren't breadcrumbs. These are slices of bread that make up the loaf, or the leaves that make up maybe we were following the leaves and now we're following the the twigs that are connected to the branches. So I don't know. We've got slices of bread. We've gone from breadcrumbs to slices of bread now because each family is a slice of bread, and now I have to figure out how they fit into the loaf of bread in that particular family. That's a weird analogy. Breadcrumbs to slices of bread to a loaf of bread. We've got a whole bakery going on here. So, well, hello, you. Yes. She's been my constant companion today. She's been, yes, very demanding today. Yes, I'm talking about you. See her just sitting there. She's waiting to go for a WA. Okay, she's watching outside. It's okay. We've still got plenty of daylight. Yeah. We got to see this owl last night. If you go look on my Facebook page, there's a really cool couple of pictures of an owl that we saw sitting on top of a street lamp last night. And I got a picture of us across the road from it. And then as I crossed the road and went on the footpath, there was a clearing between these trees. And I looked up and he's just sitting there. And so I pulled out my phone. And because my phone has this very sparkly background, about a year ago, I got a picture of this owl. And I went to zoom in to get a closer picture of him. And the sparkles caught his eye and he comes swooping down. So I've got this picture of me ducking and this big object with these wings out coming at me. But last night he was very good because I basically tried to cover up as much of the sparkles like this as I could but leave the camera free. Anyway, total sidetrack. Back on track. So yes, so we've got these little leaves that are now being attached to branches, and each leaf is a branch. Each leaf is a family that we're now attaching to these branches of families to connect them together. So we have the little nuclear family that's getting attached to the bigger family. So it's super, super exciting. How long is it going to take to sort through this information and research it? I don't know. But all I can tell you is that I have some plans for this weekend, but I also have some gaps in those plans. Like I have certain things I want to do on Saturday and Sunday. I've got my mastermind group on Saturday. Sunday's currently, I've got a couple of things I'm doing on Sunday, which I'm making time to do. But I'm also blocking in time so I can dive in to the 1939 English and England and Wales register to take these leaves and fit them onto the correct branches of the family tree. And maybe by the end of the weekend, maybe, I don't know, we'll figure out where my branch comes in with all of that. So I'm super excited because every time I find a clue, it's another step closer to finding that connection. So if you're looking at registers and you wonder why there's black lines on there, it means that register was done at a time where there are people who could still be alive today. 1939, this was done 85 years ago. There are people on that list that are still alive, so they've got their information blacked out for now. So the only people that you are seeing that are on there are dead. They're gone. And so their information has been released. Unless, of course, they're over 100 years old, then their information will be released as well because they said that they're blacked out because these people are less than 100 years old. So that's the story behind that when you're looking at the register. But these things are just, and yes, you do have to decipher handwriting as well. Actually, maybe I can show you. And I will tell you this, somebody has gone along with the research on this and on the actual documents. If a daughter in that household, well, of course, we don't know the relationships. We just got this group of people living in the same house. So it is implied that they are a family. It doesn't say how they are related to each other. So it could be siblings are living in the same house, are visiting or something like that. Like in the case of Mrs. Moody, I happen to know that she is the mother of the guy that's the main guy, the oldest guy in the house. The oldest gentleman in the house is her son. I happen to know that because I have already researched her and her family, so I know exactly where she fits in. I know that he was born out of wedlock because his last name was her maiden name. And I haven't found his baptism thing, and it did not list a father. Or was it the birth certificate? The birth certificate I found as well, and it does not have a father listed on there. And she later got married to Mr. Moody, but on later census reports he's not listed as her. No, he's already off there because of when he was born. Yeah, so I've already established that Mrs. Moody is this guy's mother, so I already know that from previous research that I have done. So there are situations like that where I know these things, but if it is a daughter who is a daughter who is listed in a list of children, then somebody has gone along and like crossed out maybe Stevens, and they've written in what their married name is. And I was like, oh, somebody's been very helpful with all of this. So I'm not sure what sort of authority this person has to be able to go through these registers and actually cross out the girls' maiden names and type it and handwrite in their married name. But it gives you a breadcrumb to help you find this person. Remember, back on breadcrumbs again. Anyway, that's it for today. I'm out of here. You ready for your walk, Zeph? She's always ready for a walk. Anyway, if you have any questions about that, please feel free to private message me. If you need some clarification, if you want to see what it looks like, happy to do that and show you what these look like. But they're available if you're a member of Ancestry. You can look up the 1939 England Wales Register. If you are researching in England or Wales for that information, you can that's definitely there and definitely available for you to look through your membership. So with that, I'm out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here